Going to try this in a different format. This is a long project. It's a lot of 3D printed stuff, and it's a project that I've wanted to do since 1977. Star Wars was released in 1977. I saw A New Hope with my cousin Kay and her boyfriend Mike. My brother was about a year old at the time. I'm going to try to get through this project. I lost my brother in February. And I started printing 2 of the E11 Stormtrooper blasters from Star Wars A New Hope. One for him and one for me. So this is going to be a multi-part assembly and discussion of what I did and what I learned and what I figured out about printing and doing all of this in the manner that I did. There were some really neat things that printed out. I mean, there's all sorts of good stuff. And got lots of parts. Lots and lots of parts. The set of models included the original. It's a replica of the Sterling. I'm looking at my screen that I can barely read from here. It's a Sterling SMG Mark IV, and then the conversion to the AMG E11 Stormtrooper blaster. So there's lots and lots of parts. Here's the scope. Here's the Hingster counter, and so forth and so on. So I'm going to rearrange this so you can see the tabletop, and I'll show you some parts. We'll talk about the process, the printing process. So one of the first things I want to talk about is the printing process and what I learned in orienting the pieces and parts on the print bed. So this is the bolt carrier group, or the bolt, or the charging bolt, whatever you want to call it. And originally it was printed laying down, because I was trying to have the fewest number of supports possible. And you can see the layers on the underside, and you can also see where the quasi sort of support was, where it attached to the table. And more to the point, on the top side, you can see it looks like a wood grain as it was adding the layers. And then we've got supports inside these lips, which are nearly impossible to get out. So this was done with polycarbonate? I think so, polycarbonate. And it's great. It's super strong. It still produced a really smooth print looking at it from the side. And this was with the standard settings. I changed the orientation so that it was printing upright. And I've got a few little strings here and there. But this one I haven't removed the supports from. And you can read the serial number in the piece. It's a beautiful print. And so this was a print that failed, but you can see that the support on just the end was not that bad, and this will sand down fairly easily. But since it did fail, it broke loose from the bed. These are the supports that I use. I think they're called Coidual or something. I don't remember. It was the non-standard. I was going with, I went to a finer quality print. And if I can remember, I'll put the specs up on the screen. But this one broke loose. And this ends up, obviously the one that still got the supports on it. This is the final product, but this is the one I've removed all the supports from. I did a little bit of sanding. I haven't hit it with anything super duty. But it's a beautiful silky print, and it's done in the polycarbonate. And I printed it in silver, or this gray, because this is going to be an internal part. I'm going to hit it with a matte black, and so any of the scrapes in the paint will end up showing something similar to this. I may actually paint this chrome, or some semblance of chrome. But this is another example of the quality of the print. This is the charging handle that fits in here. Fits through the other side. It was a really great smooth print. So that's an internal part that you're not going to see a lot of, but yet it's a really great quality, and I'm very excited about it. There are a few other pieces and parts. I've still got supports on several of these. This is and I've put some of these together just to see the fits. So this is the same part with the supports, and I'll have some footage of removing the supports. Post supports, you can see I've got to do some filing in each of these holes. I may just use a drill bit or a rasp. This is part of the barrel. There's additional parts of the body. This is with the supports, without the supports. This is the mid portion. Trying not to knock everything over all at once. And then this is the hind piece, which has got the last of the charging slot. And you can see these little grooves, which we've got supports on here for, and a couple of set pins, and these tiny little tabs right there, which are great because these fit together in little slots in there. And so I've got a little bit of work to do on these guys to get the alignment, a little bit of filling. Most of it is mostly, I think I've already hit this seam with some sandpaper, and I'll do a little filling on that and make sure that this fits together all nice and neat. But that's what it's going to look like, plus the additional part of the barrel. Ta-da! It's starting to look like a Star Wars blaster. And then we've got some end pieces. I ran out of the gray. I just love that. It slides on, it twists, and you could glue it in place or just leave it like it is. I printed some in black, I printed some in white, I printed some in gray based on what I had at the time after I ran out of the gray, and I reordered gray. One of the most challenging bits with this is a spring. This actually goes together. The spring goes in here. And the charging, let's see, goes maybe it goes this way. And everything lines up great. This is a great set of prints. Yeah, so it goes this way so you can see the serial number. And then this gets together on there. I'm going to hold it against the table, but now, oh, what am I running into? There. So you can charge it, which the Stormtroopers never did. But if you're just doing the Sterling SMG, you would stop here, and it would be a very interesting replica of it. Now, this is all plastic. Everything's plastic. It's non-firing anything, but it's just kind of cool. Some of the other parts, this is going to fall apart as soon as I set it down. But the spring was one of the most challenging things. The guys online who've already built these suggested you could do a couple of different methods for actually making a metal spring. If you did, it was going to be a non-spring metal, so it wouldn't spring back. Ooh, I think I just broke my spring. Dang it. I did. And you could order a spring. I was just going to print it, which I guess I will do this again, unless I can find a metal one. The quality on this, there were lots of supports. I think I just threw away one of the early ones that I did, but I printed this on its side like this. And so you've got supports on the bottom, you've got supports on the inside, and you've got supports on the out. I did hit it with a cigarette lighter to kind of melt down some of the threads, and that kind of sort of worked, but then it just broke, so that doesn't matter anyway. Some of the other really neat pieces I've got to work on. There's some fit differences. This is the magazine well. I ended up, and I may have printed another piece. I had adhesion issues. Against the bed, so that one ends up rocking back and forth. This one ended up being pretty good. I mean, you can see the lettering in there. And this was printed with this side down. This is where the supports were, and this is going to be against the body of the blaster anyway, so you're not going to see that. And then this is the magazine release. Really nice design in that. I'll just pull this out. This is the release, and this little groove right here, this rounded groove, holds a ballpoint pen spring, and then there's a cap that goes on the other side. Oh, and inside there's a little notch right there. Right there, that catches the magazine, so it can actually come out. I mean, it's great and it's fun, and it's, guys like to play with guns, from cowboys and Indians to Star Wars to G.I. Joe to whatever else. So if you're going for a more realistic replica, you could make it so that this functions and that the magazine release works, or you could just glue it all in. A magazine printed in a couple of different pieces, which was one of the first pieces that I printed in the polycarbonate. And again, it's a beautiful print, and this was just a standard print. I didn't change it to the super fine or anything along those lines. But you can see the lettering on there. The detail of the curvature and everything is great. It ends up being a little tight into the magazine well. Make sure I don't. Yeah, it goes together in a weird way. I'm sure the real one wasn't like this, but this goes in, and that little hole right there matches up with that little post right there. And that butts up against it. So I could glue that in and it would be fine. There's an end cap that goes on it, yada yada. Bunch of parts. This is a gorgeous piece, and another one that they did a really great job in modeling. This is the scope that was an add-on to the Sterling. The body printed out absolutely gorgeous, nice and smooth. and I think I'm going to use a flat black automotive primer, which will fill in these voids, and then a little bit of sandpaper over the top. But you can see it's got little nubbins right there for the back part of the scope to go onto, and it's got more lettering. I stuck this in here. This was the ring, and with the supports on it from where it printed flat, and I may leave that in there. It's supposed to do some guys did some electronics, others have used clear lenses. I don't know what I'm going to do, but these snap together really well because of the little nubbins on the inside. Oh yeah, and there's a little cutout here that matches up to a screw there. So make sure you put it together all the right way. And then there's the front, and I've got a ring for that somewhere around here. But again, these parts just go together so well, and I used good filament. I get it lined up right there, and that's a nearly finished piece with minimal sanding. The supports were great. You can see the attachment points. On the Hengstler counter, I ran into some issues with adhesion to the table, and I got curvature, a little bit of curvature there. It's more apparent. Again, got the little tabs for these to go together in. It goes in this way. And so when we put these together, I think it goes. Actually, it doesn't matter how it goes. No, but now you can see the fit across here. Not quite straight, but the quality is beautiful. I mean, this looks like a factory part. And let's see. Oh, and the counter actually uses another spring, and there's a little button for the reset. But the date is 05/25/77. So that was the day that Star Wars was released. So I'm probably just going to sand this flat on both of these pieces, and glue it together. Again, this one's kind of, you can see the lines, a lot of little lines. So I'll probably sand that down again with the flat black automotive primer to do some filling, and then sand it down. And these things aren't going to be pristine. They weren't going to be for reenactment or anything. They were just going to be for pure enjoyment. Being a child of Star Wars. I was born in, I think it was one of the first movies I went to see in the movie theater. The barrel, again, these round pieces, you can see the kind of the wood grain effect, and this is the bottom where it printed against the table, and you can see how rough that is. Sand this down. It's going to be painted black, printed like this, and a little cleaning up won't be too terribly bad. I think there's a key where this fits. I can't remember which side's up. Oh, that's got to be up. That's up, because this goes through here. Like I said, they did a beautiful job designing this. And there's a key for the sight. And it slides right in there. And the key is also in this white piece right there, so that fits nice and solid. So once I get the body glued together, and even if you look down in there, it's really, really hard to see the texture on the bottom. I think it'll be great. And for my purposes of probably putting it in a glass box and sticking it on the shelf, that is the the extent of it. So there's some really, really cool parts that I haven't pulled the supports on. This rail goes across the top. I can't figure out how to print this. Both had the same issue. I printed this with the orientation this side down, because this, with this side down, because of this little bit right here. So this had a support, and then this side had a support holding it up. And there's actually some support material left in that little ridge right there that's really difficult to get out. But it's warped. And the second one I printed is warped. Had the exact same issue. So I may try to remove this print part from the print, from the model, and print this flat this way, and then print this separate. If not, I could also fabricate this out of metal, but do have a little flexure over distance, but this piece here in the middle where the two are is super strong. Oh, and if you look at that, you can see it actually got a little curvature in it. So yeah, I may have to pull this piece off and remodel it. Maybe put some set holes in here to glue it all together. Excuse me. So these need to be reprinted. And let's see. Oh, that was the first charging bolt group carrier that still has the supports on it, and you can see how it printed like this. Again, you can see the quasi wood grain there in the reflection, and then the supports. So I'll have some footage of me pulling supports out, because here's one that's got lots of supports, and some other pieces with supports, minimal supports. Oh, and then some absolutely beautiful pieces. Where's it? So here's a piece. Ha ha ha. So this piece has got supports. I think these are the power cells for the blaster. Printed it like this. Looks like a little sandcastle. And this is what it looks like when it comes out. Now it looks like a little scuba tank. But it's gorgeous. The supports came off nice and neat. You can see that they're very, very clean. There are some visible ridges, but a lot less than I would expect. There's some support material in these little holes, and particularly on the hole on the inside. It's difficult to see right there. There's still some support material in there, so it may not affect anything because it's so tiny and you won't see it anyway. But there's the before and the after. There's the before and the after. Supports, and this goes on top. We do have some registration holes. There's supposed to be, a little wire that comes out of one of the sides. So once I get to painting these, we'll see how the ridges, how visible the ridges are. And I've also got to go through and make sure that I have all of the parts printed, because I lost track. But this is a fun piece. You can see how the supports come off. And being very careful. There it comes. What I'm doing is just twisting it. Oh, and this one I actually printed in two different colors, because I had Started it in the gray polycarbonate, ran out and I had the white polycarbonate. Almost there. Some people say that pulling the supports off is as much fun as all the rest. I disagree. I find pulling the supports off to be a little disconcerting. Oh, okay, so on either side of this there's a small kick out, and the bottom has a support which so this is part of the, so pulling the supports out are can be kind of fun because they want to pull out in ribbons because of the supports, the way that the supports are printed. There, that's the supports. Ta-da! And you can see that there's still some left on the inside. Some threads. Ooh, look at this. A mesh that pulls up. Looky, looky. Oops. Super, super tiny little mesh that printed. But easy peasy. Beautiful little print. Anyway, I'll have some footage of me pulling supports off and then assembling this and then painting and then more assembly and then more painting as time goes on. This is going to be a long one because there's 2 of these, and I may reprint some of the parts. Plus I've got the footage of the parts being printed, so this will be a lot of fun-ish. Difficult. Emotionally. More supports. Oh, and one of these I had... No, so... This is the piece. Actually, oriented this way. And I printed these standing up. Well, standing up, because that's the bottom and it was against the table. And so it supported every one of these holes. Again, lessons learned, maybe. And you can see that there are supports on the inside, and you can see there are supports on the outside. And there is a bit of a trick to figuring out how these best come off. Because part of what you're trying to do is separating the support material on the outside from the support material on the inside. Anyway, it's kind of sort of just neat and funky. And I am, oh, there we go. So, pull these off. That's what it is. When you pull off the exterior ones, about every other one, or Sometimes you can get a rhythm, and sometimes it just does what it wants to do. Okay, so now that that's off, I can push that support material in, and oh, let me show you this side, maybe. Oh, it's attached to the bottom. It's loose, I promise. It's right there. All of the, now there's more bits that are falling out, but that's the inside supports, or the supports on the inside and the outside. Anyway, I'll play with this some more, and we'll come back and do some more how-tos, not how-tos, process of doing it. If you're a Star Wars nerd and you're into 3D printing, much like I am, it should be a little fun, a little joyous, be bittersweet. That's the word I was looking for earlier. It's bittersweet. But that's what we do. I just want to keep peeling. But I need to take inventory.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.
Too many hobbies, not enough time.
It's a theme song, y'all.